So can you make money selling your food online, and what are the margins for wholesale food? Is it better to sell your product to a retailer or start your own online business to make the most profit possible? Well, in this video, I'm going to go over 10 things that you need to know before you dive into a food e-commerce business and selling your food product wholesale. We're going to get to that right now. All right, guys, so welcome back to Marketing Food Online. So as I mentioned in the introduction, this video is going to be all about making it profitable for you to sell your food product either on retail or an online e-commerce business. So can you make money selling food online is the specific question that we got asked from one of our subscribers on one of our other videos. So I wanted to dive into 10 things, actually 12 things that you need to be aware of in order for you to understand what is the most beneficial for you when you first launch a food business, specifically selling packaged food products. And is it really beneficial for you to go the wholesale route, or is it beneficial for you to be the owner of your own e-commerce business on several platforms to make the most money? So before we do, as always, definitely hit the subscribe button if this is your first video, and the bell notification to check out all of our videos as we upload them every single week. And of course, check out our podcast and the numerous resources that we have down below on our website. We've got our podcast, we've got a blog, all kinds of free information. Check out those links down below and see what actually works for you. So number one, shelf space. So the one thing that most food entrepreneurs don't think about when they start to sell or want to sell to a retailer is going to be shelf space. I actually wrote shelf life. Shelf space, sorry about that, guys. Shelf space. Now, why is that so important, shelf space? It's very limited when it comes to retailers. What that means for you as a business operator trying to sell the most of your food products is that when you work with retailers, they're only going to buy a very limited quantity of products, put them on the shelves, and in the hopes of course, traffic that comes to the store, people buy your product, and then you replenish them. But the problem with that is as you are the one making your individual packaged food products and making them in small batches, the smaller amount of space you have available, well, the most minimal amount of products you'll have the opportunity to sell. I personally have worked with retailers when we first launched our business, and we were only allowed to put about 10 to 12 bags of our product on the shelf, which was, of course, very constricting. If they sold out within 2 days of having 10 or 12 bags, then we had to make the new product, get it back to them either in through the logistical system or the warehouse, or bring it to the store, however they wished that we had them do that. But what it did is actually limited the amount of product that we potentially could sell to more customers. Shelf space is very limited. When it comes to the grocery stores, they only have so much physical space within the store itself. Even if you had only 3 or 4 or 5 stores, you're still very limited as to how many units you could put on the shelf, which constricts your business dramatically. This is specifically when, of course, you're just starting. So number 2, foot traffic. Now, I just kind of sort of touched on this a little bit. Foot traffic, what is that? That is the amount of actual customers they physically have coming through the store on a weekly basis. So let's say, as an example, you had 5 retail locations and you produced 20 bags for every store. Well, they've got about several hundred to maybe 1,000 people who walk through that store every week. But of that many, how many are actually looking for the product that you're making? If it happens to be a hot sauce, well, there's probably 5 or 6 other hot sauces on the shelf. So the foot traffic that comes through the store can also be an actual limiting thing for your food product, because every store location has a fluctuation of how many people come in and out every single week, right? So if you've got 5 stores, at the most, let's say they get 1,000 people walking the store a week, you're only going to get your product exposed to 5,000 people. That may seem like a lot of people, but to be honest with you, it's not. Because of that foot traffic, it dwindles down to how many people are actually looking for your particular product in that particular store. So that is something that's also limiting in comparison to being online. So when you're online, you have an opportunity to be in front of hundreds of millions, and I'm going to get to that just in a second, literally hundreds of millions of potential eyeballs when you're online. So that drastically increases the odds of you selling even more of your product from you directly to your customer through these different platforms online. Now let's go back up here to shelf space. That's another reason why it's very important too, that kind of comes into traffic, is that online there is no shelf space. You could create a listing of a single product and you've got maybe 20,000 units ready available to be shipped, or even 200 units or 2,000 units, whatever it may be. That doesn't constrict you because you don't physically have to put the product on the shelf limiting the amount of product that someone could buy. So if, let's just say someone enjoyed your product and love it, but you've only got 10 bags. Great, well, they sold out of those 10 bags and now they're gonna contact you. And there's a huge amount of time between the time that you're gonna replenish that product to other potential customers to buy it. When you're online 24/7, every single day of the year, every single day, you've got an opportunity to be exposed to hundreds of millions of potential customers. So number 3, you don't need a buyer's approval. This is something that many people do not like. You work with a buyer for a certain chain. You work with a buyer for a restaurant. You work for a buyer with a retail store, and they're gonna say, you know what, let me see what I can do. I'm gonna try to bring in as many products as I can. I'll get back to you when I can. That's a delay in opportunity for you to sell your products. Getting permission, in a sense, to sell your product in their retail stores is basically what a buyer does. They say yes or they say no. And they're also going to, again, limit the shelf space with the amount of product they can potentially bring in. So in essence, you want to get to your customers as soon as possible. You want to be able to reach them as soon as you can without getting people's permissions to do this. The thing of it is that unless you have a very large amount of financial investment, you have a very good logistical ability to get the product in the hands of a lot of retailers, and you have a marketing team that's promoting and marketing on social media, and all of these other people behind you, when you first start your business, I highly recommend you stay away from retail only because of these particular things. That is going to constrict your business and the ability for you to reach more people, sell more product, and just get a faster reach to the customers with a smaller barrier of opportunities for you to get through in order for you to get to those customers. So no buyer's approval. And you're the one running the show. Like for me, I've got my 6 e-commerce businesses. I can do whatever I want when I want and put up products without having anybody giving me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That is the ability of an e-commerce business in comparison to a retail store. Now, next up, you can change your prices at the click of a button. Now, why is this important? Well, when it comes to pricing, when it comes to ingredients, when it comes to food products, as you know now, a lot of the pricing for ingredients have skyrocketed. Prices have gone up dramatically for food in general, but that shouldn't prohibit you though from launching your food business. There's still going to be people who have to eat and people who enjoy eating and consuming food because they have to, and they love to do it. But here's the thing. You have the ability with your e-commerce store that if you see fluctuations in your suppliers, you can instantaneously change the pricing. So that way it makes you even more profitable. As you go through the route of a retail store, they could be putting in purchase orders that they're going to lock in a certain price. And 2 or 3 months down the road, you may see an increase in an ingredient, but that store over there, you've already promised to put 500 units in their store. And at a certain price, they've already either purchased it or given you a net 30 or net 60-day payment. In that case, you're looking at an increase in a lower profit margin for yourself and an increase in your actual ingredients. So you can change the price. If tomorrow my chocolate pretzels went up double, I could go on to my stores and easily change them within a matter of minutes. So I'm still remaining profitable. I can increase the price point, and I don't have to go through this huge regimen of trying to get a store to either pay me more or get out of a contract where I've actually locked in a certain price. That can be very non-profitable move and not make you as much money. So changing the price is number 4. Number 5, this is kind of a fun thing. You can introduce new products instantly, okay? This is another thing you don't need permission for. So for instance, if you're creating a trail mix and you've got 3 new flavors, if you go through a buyer to get to a retail store, they may say, hey, Damien, you know what? I've got 2 of your flavors already. Not really interested in the other 3, but maybe hopefully I'll get some space on the shelf 6 or 8 months from now. No, that doesn't fly with me because I have 3 flavors that I want to introduce and I want to test them out and see how they go. You have an e-commerce business, guess what? All it is creating a listing, setting your price, optimizing the listing with information and keywords and descriptions. From there, you already have access to even more customers with your brand new flavors without getting approval from a buyer. And again, I am not knocking the world of retail food products. Obviously, if you want to get into the grocery industry and get from East Coast to West Coast and be in thousands of stores, do it. But when you first start, it's going to be very difficult for the small business operator who's creating food products to get their foot in the door because so many people want to be in stores. This gives you, the internet has given you the opportunity to compete with big stores and big box brands at the split of a second, creating a store on Amazon, creating a store on eBay, creating a store on Shopify, making your own website, getting on social media, selling food on Facebook even, Instagram, wherever it is that you may be. but you can do it much faster on your own, okay? So you can introduce new products. That's fantastic. Number 6, bundles. Now, if you've got a line of product and maybe you have multiple sizes of your packaging, maybe you've got multiple variations of flavors, maybe you just want to incorporate 3 or 4 different items that have nothing to do with each other, but you want to create a bundle. Bundles are something that you can't necessarily do in a retail store, okay? Most of the time, you might see a multi-pack of some products from these big companies that have the ability to produce them. But as a small food operator and a small food business owner that you are, you can create as many bundles as you want online. Again, you have power and control over your listings. You can go on Amazon and do 7 different products and put it into a bundle and ship it. You can go onto eBay and do the same thing. You can go onto Etsy. You can go onto Shopify. You can go onto Weebly. Your website and your e-commerce business is in your control. So having the ability to bundle and increase your actual transaction amount from, let's say, $10 for maybe 2 items, well, now I can bundle it and I can sell them for $75 for maybe 6 or 7 items. So you've increased that individual transaction, giving you, again, more revenue and you more power over what you're doing with your food business, again, compared to retail. Number 7, wholesale. Well, wholesale is good when you have got yourself a co-packer. Wholesale is good when you've got yourself the ability to manufacture hundreds of thousands of units and you have the ability to make margins on large orders. Individual units will not make money in the food business. 1 bag of nuts, if you sell them individually as a bag of nuts, doesn't really make you a lot at front. But if you go the wholesale route, you could potentially make money, but it has to be really large orders. That sounds good, but how are you going to make them? If you don't have a co-packer, a private label company, or somebody behind you producing them, wholesaling can be a very loss profit type of concept when it comes to very small food businesses, because you're not going to make the profits on individual units. You have to be selling thousands of units at a wholesale price to a retailer who is then going to sell it at the retail price that you could sell it at online. So when you sell wholesale, they're going to get it at a discount. For people who don't understand this concept really quick, I'll give you a rundown. So for instance, if it costs you $1 to make a product and you sell it for $4, what they're going to do is to say, I'll give you $1.75, maybe $1.99 or $2. That's it per unit. Because the retailer needs to have margin. They need to have a space for them to make it profitable. So then they're going to charge it for the retail price that you could have done online. When you, again, have your own e-commerce store, you can dictate the price and the retail price point and make more money than you would have by selling it at wholesale. Okay? Now, next up, package changes. So package design. Now, from time to time, as a food entrepreneur, you will change your package design. Well, guess what? Sometimes that actually causes issues with retailers, believe it or not. It is not always smooth running when it comes to you designing a new packaging, maybe increasing the size from 10 ounce to 12 ounce, so the pricing changes. That is something that has a problem sometimes in the logistical pipeline of getting the product to the retailer without having it cause any problems. A lot of times when you change size of a packaging, that throws off the wholesale pricing, the retail pricing, and the retailers don't exactly love that. Unless you're obviously some big company like Frito-Lay or Nabisco, that is different, but you're not. You're a small food packaging business. So by you changing your packaging, that is something, again, you can easily take new pictures of your image, upload it onto your website, change the price point if you need to, adjust it, and you're good to go. Very simple, very fast, very effective way to change it if you happen to do that. Trust me, from time to time, packaging will change. As your company evolves, it just does happen. So next up, number 9. This is a big one that I actually learned the hard way. Shelf life. Okay, so shelf life and loss of revenue. So let me give you a scenario. So you create a product and it has maybe a 2 to 3 month shelf life. Okay, so you get that into the retail stores, people are loving it, et cetera, but guess what? Not every single unit's gonna sell. Now, the problem with this is that the shelf life, when a product expires or has a best buy date, retailers will pull it off the shelf, obviously, if it's reached that time. Most retailers will do 2 things, one of 2 things. They're either gonna ask you, hey, you know what, Damien, we had about half a dozen or 600 of these units in all of our stores, it didn't work out, so you need to send us a credit back. The retail stores normally will not eat that money. If they fronted you the money and it doesn't sell, most of the stipulations and contracts with retailers, the one I dealt with specifically, I had to give them either credit or go to the store, pull the product off and replenish it with new product. Well, guess what? That is a loss. All of those units that you had to pull off and throw into the trash have now cost you time, labor, packaging, labels, resources, everything that you could think of that you're going to lose. You're going to take that and put it into the trash and lose money. Now, why is that different than e-commerce, Damien? Well, here's the beautiful thing. So let's say that same type of a product, you produced a small amount of them, but you put it on your e-commerce stores. And again, we go back to some of the basics up here at the beginning. You're reaching hundreds of millions of people, and you have maybe 100 to 200 units. The chances of you selling through your 100 or 200 units in front of hundreds of millions of people on multiple platforms is highly likely. And the idea of selling out of a product is much better than not selling out of a product and losing the money that you've actually put into the rest of the items, right? So this will give you the opportunity to actually not have much loss, if any, if you produce a smaller amount. Now, what's even better is if you own a business that's made to order. Our business actually operates like that, very similar to a restaurant. So you go on our stores and guess what? You're going to place an order for chocolate covered pretzels. I see that. I have myself and my wife and our part-timers come in. We make that product, we package it and put it and ship it out. So I have almost zero loss of any ingredients or any packaging because I don't make anything until it's ordered. If you operate your e-commerce business that way, then your loss is going to be next to nothing, right? And again, as a small food business operator, every penny counts and you don't want to be throwing money away. That's another benefit of being online instead of retail stores. Now, number 10, the beautiful thing of e-commerce is it's less people between you and your customer. What does that mean, Damien? Well, here's another scenario. When you have an e-commerce business, you have a customer who comes to your platform. Let's say your Amazon store. I like to use that as an example all the time. Amazon's little tiny fee that they charge me to sell my chocolate pretzels to my customer is the only thing standing between me and my customer. That's it. If you start to sell your product to retailers, the potential is this. You're going to have distributors, food distributors that want to buy your product. They're going to buy it in bulk and they're going to buy it for next to nothing from you. And then they're going to mark it up and then sell it to the retailer. Those are the ones standing between you and your customers at retail level if you go through a food distributor. What if you go through a food broker, Damien, and then you have to buy them at wholesale? Well, guess what? It's you, the food broker, which you have to pay for, by the way, and then you have to sell it wholesale or at bulk pricing, reduced pricing to a retailer for them to resell it. So now you have two big chunks of profit taken right out of your product. That is another thing you need to think about if you wanted to get into retail. So the fewer the people that stand between you and your customers, such as an e-commerce business, or the small little transaction fees that they charge for you to sell a product on their platform, that's it. There's nobody else standing between you and your product and your customer. That's it, okay? If you use a fulfillment service or a fulfillment center, then the fulfillment center fee is the only one standing between you and your customer. Got it? So less people between you and your customer. Now this one, number 11, is really big. Turnaround times. What is a turnaround time, Damien, and why should I even care? Well, here's the thing, another scenario. So your retailer buys you 1,000 units from you. Guess what? You did really well that month. You sold through that 1,000. And then they're going to place another order for another 1,500 units or 2,000. Well, there's a lag time because right now the shelves on the store are completely empty. You got notification that you need to send more product, but then you have to make it. And then after you make it, you have to send it, ship it. That's the logistics of it. You handle that and get it to the store. Well, once it gets to their distribution centers, then they have to distribute it to all the stores. There could be a potential of weeks, if not a couple of months on minimum, there's going to be no product being sold of your product on a retail shelf, okay? And if you can't keep up with the time frames that you've promised for turnaround times, the retailers will say goodbye, take a hike, see you later, adios, because we need to have our shelves full, not empty. That's how retailers make money. Retailers make money when stuff is on the shelf. When it's empty, they don't, and they don't like that. So if you can't keep up with your turnaround times, you will be kicked out the door and said, have a nice day. Now, what does that mean for e-commerce? Well, turnaround times in e-commerce is 0 because there's, again, 2 ways for you to run your business. Pre-make your product, have it in inventory, and simply ship it out. But as you, the producer of the product, see that the product is getting empty and the shelves in the warehouse are getting low because you need to make more, then you can make more and simply just put it on the shelf. There's no transit time, there's nothing between that except for the time for you to make it. And the other way to do it is if it's made to order. If you make your products to order, well then there's really no turnaround time other than just the time it takes for you to make it. For me, I can make chocolate pretzels and fill an order for 1 order of chocolate pretzels in a matter of a few minutes. So I have just the ingredients, right? So that gives you the opportunity to fulfill orders much faster, never be out of anything, because you can forecast where you're at, because you look around your warehouse and you see that you're running low on a product, but just make more. But in retail, you have to get an order put in, produce the product, ship it to them. Once it gets to them, they have to distribute it. It's just a big turnaround time. That's another reason why. Now, number 12, and the final reason. E-commerce platforms, I'll just put platforms, have customers built in. And not just some, they have millions and millions. Really quick rundown. Amazon has 150 million people who are registered on their Prime program. So potentially, you have 150 million potential customers that go to Amazon every month that you could sell a food product to, right? Now, back to what we said really quick over here in foot traffic. So the retail store around the corner, the grocery store that gets 1,000 people walking through it a week, with all due respect, what is that? That's nothing. 1,000 people a week? These websites have millions of people every month, and you're reaching people all over the place. Walmart, 100 million. eBay, 109 million on average go to their website every month. Etsy, last month in August, clocked in 535 million visits. Yes, 535 million visits, okay? And the average time that they spent on Etsy's website was almost 13 minutes. That is insane, and crazy amounts of money. And lastly, social media. If you're on Instagram selling stuff, millions of people. Facebook selling stuff, millions of people. But just imagine if you were on all of these, every single one of these, you're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions of people that your food product is sitting in front of with the potential to sell it. So can you make money selling food online? You're darn right that you can. You can make a lot of money selling food online. So food wholesale profit margins are way lower when you've got more people standing between you and your customer. So take in mind all of these little bits of information. Understand the ideas behind how it really works when you're starting off with your food business. So if this is, like always, was profitable, was helpful, let me know down below with a big thumbs up. If you have any questions about what I just covered, please let me know in the comments section. And of course, if this was helpful, we always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for everyone who has already given us super thanks. Super thanks is just below this video. It has a little $sign on that. If you want to donate $1, $2, or whatever it is that you can to give us some gratitude in regards to this video, we do appreciate that. And it helps us do the filming of all these videos. And I'll see you guys on our next video.